Connect the tongue to the palate. Inhale slowly, exhale slowly. Let us pray. To the Supreme God, Divine Father, Divine Mother, we thank you for your priceless blessings, for divine light, divine love, divine guidance, divine love, mercy, inner healing, physical healing. Thank you for the inner strength to practice regularly. Thank you for your divine help and protection, for illumination, for abundance and prosperity. We thank you. Let's do the soul affirmation. Today we're going to talk about yoga. It being international, it's International Yoga Day, it's World Music Day, it's Father's Day, it's the summer solstice, there's the new moon, and there was a solar eclipse. So all of that combined, today is a really, really powerful day. Okay, so like I said, today I'll be doing healing for everyone who is present here. We will be doing the healing during the meditation. And before that, we'll be talking shortly about the Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. So those of us who have heard of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, that's fine. Those of us who have not. So this is also part of a series that I'm doing, which is called the Bhagavad Gita, Energetically Speaking. This is episode 15. It's available on YouTube, but this particular episode is on Patanjali's Yoga Angas rather. Okay. So a lot of us have done, yoga in our life, and we often wonder like where it comes from. So this is basically, Patanjali is credited as being the father of yoga. So these are called the 8 limbs of yoga, which he talks about. So we'll talk about them in detail. I just wanted to put them out here for us to see. The first one that I would like to talk about, or the first 2, is something called the do and the don't. So I'm sure you've heard of people say, do this and don't do this. So sometimes we're like, okay, why do we have a don't? The reason we have a don't is because there is light and there is darkness, there is day and there is night. So, everything has a balance in the universe. So to understand why there is this balance is required, this is something called the second aspect of God. And it is believed that when God, or whoever we consider to be the supreme power, actually created the universe, then there were 3 outpourings coming out of the 3 aspects of God. So I'm not going to get into that a lot of detail here, but we'll probably get into it some other time. But it's just to give you a brief. So what happens is that in the second outpouring, there is a balance. There is a light and a dark. Okay, so how do we know that there is a light and a dark, and how do we represent it? So if you've seen some of the symbols of the symbols of yin and yang, so there is there's the dark, and there's a seed of white, and there is the white, and there is a seed of black in it. So basically what the understanding is that there is always the seed of light in darkness, and there is always the seed of darkness in light. Okay, so this brings us to the golden rule. Those of us who have already done pranic healing, we know what the golden rule is. The golden rule is basically doing something and not doing something, right? So in the limbs of yoga, these are the first 2 steps. So it says yama and niyama. So again, those of us who practice hatha yoga, I'm sure we have a teacher who's also told us, you should do this and you should not do this, right? So then the question is, how do I decide what is to be done and what is not to be done? It's like really confusing, right? At least for me it was. I don't know about you guys. But so one of the things that we have is, again, in the tools of pranic healing, Master Chua, in the first workshop, which is the basic pranic healing workshop, he talks to us about the 5 virtues. Now, the 5 virtues are mentioned here. It's loving kindness and non-injury, generosity and non-stealing, honesty and non-lying. So as you can see, these are formatted in the format of do and do not do. Then there's honesty and non-lying. There's constancy and non-laziness. And there's moderation and non-excessiveness. Sometimes we... And so, what I'd like to cover here is the order of these virtues. So loving kindness comes first. So everybody, me included, sometimes we think that honesty is more important. Sometimes we think that, being excessively perfect or getting everything right is more important than being nice to people. According to the teacher, Master Chua, whose school we follow, according to him, loving kindness and non-injury is the first virtue. That's what we should always try and practice. Be firm, be polite, be loving. Now, sometimes it's not easy, right? So that's why we have things like twin hearts meditation, etc. So the 5 virtues are like the 5 pillars of life. And again, in the pranic healing school, we have very clear divisions on what is to be done and what is not to be done. But again, as it is in pranic healing, we don't ask you to do anything. It's just a matter of you trying, experimenting, and then determining for yourself whether loving kindness is the most important one or not. That is a decision that you have to take. Okay. So for me, I can tell you that I used to think that, being honest at the cost of being unkind was okay, because I thought, honesty is the best policy. I'm always honest. I'm blunt. I say it the way it is. Yeah, maybe, but it really disrupted a lot of relationships in my life till I learned that loving kindness is the first one. So anyway, so I put this out there for you to think about. We'll just move on to the next topic. So this is again the third and fourth angles of the Yoganga of Patanjali. So Patanjali's Yoga Sutras are, very, very, they're very famous. So here what he's talking about is what's called the limbs of yoga, asana and pranayama. So for those of us who have done asanas and pranayama, we know how important they are, right? You know the value of exercise. So how do you feel after you exercise? You feel good and clean, right? So why do you feel clean after exercise? The reason is because we have an aura. We have this energy bubble that surrounds us. Now, when we exercise, our body is able to generate energy from inside, and it's able to actually throw out all this garbage out of our system. Now, some of this stuff may be because, we went somewhere, we took a flight, we were in an airport, we were in a bus station, we were in the railway station, wherever, we just went to the market. Haven't you noticed sometimes when you come back from like the market, even sometimes from the mall, you just feel like you just need a bath, like you just need to like clean up. It's like, oh, or sometimes you go to the mall and you feel really tired and exhausted. Why is that? Because we collect a lot of stuff. It's like if I go to the market with my big bag and I put a lot of things in it, there comes a time when it's like completely full and I'm like, okay, I need to get out of here. Right. So similarly, our aura also it just picks up stuff, everything that we look at, if oh, that's a nice bag. Oh, that's a nice dress. Oh, that's a cute guy. All that stuff goes into your aura. And then when we exercise, we basically get rid of all of the stuff that we don't require. So that's what, exercise achieves. That's also what asana achieves, and also what breathing achieves. Now, staying with the exercise, which is the third limb of yoga according to Patanjali. So exercise basically helps us to cleanse our aura, to straighten our health rays, which is again something that we talk about in pranic healing, and it's a great cleansing mechanism. So as you may have noticed in all our meditations, we always exercise. And once we get to arhatic level, there is so much more exercise that has to be done both before and after. That is again to clean the aura. Why do we need to clean the aura before we meditate? It is because, suppose I have this katori and, it's got food from yesterday and I put food from today into this. Is it going to be nice? Is it going to be edible? I don't think so, right? No one's going to eat food in a katori that was used yesterday, katori as in like bowl, that was used yesterday. And today I've put fresh food in it. Am I going to eat it? Probably not. Why not? The food is fresh, but the utensil is not. So similarly, when we meditate, what we are putting into our body is divine energy. It is powerful, it is beautiful, it is clean, but it's like pouring milk into a dirty, in yesterday's teacup. It's not going to work. It's not going to give you any results, right? It's not going to give you any results simply because it's dirty. Okay, so one of the things is that we clean the aura by doing asanas. Now, one more thing about asana I'd like to mention is often it is mentioned that, one should sit very straight when we're meditating. And, if you slump, then, the meditation goes for a toss. Yes, that's to some extent that is true. But for a lot of us, it's not possible to sit straight. So, previously, people used to sit in Padmasana to meditate. As you can see in our pranic healing system, we sit on chairs and we sit on straight back chairs. So you can sit. Ideally, don't lean back on your chair. But if you have to, it's still okay. It's still okay. So that's why I find, pranic healing is really good for like the modern practitioner. Anyway, going on to the next one, which is pranayama. So to me, this is again, my interpretation is that pranayama to me is also a way of cleaning the air channels in the body, right? And the body has meridians. So when we do pranayama, we are actually cleaning some of the major channels of the body. We take in energy from, if you're doing the, what is it called? anyway, the alternate breathing, which is a part of yoga. If you're doing that, you're basically cleansing. Sometimes they say, pass it through your Ajna chakra. But also if you do Kundalini yoga with Master Choa's workshop, Aratic Prep, we talk about two major meridians called the Ida and the Pingala. And I feel that breathing has a lot to do with cleansing those as well. So again, that's something that we can cover later. So, okay, going back to the Yoga Anga of Patanjali. So what I'm trying to do basically is to make it all very practical, because if I just give you the 8 steps of Patanjali, you'll be like, okay, whatever, So we just want to bring it home, make it understandable, connected to pranic healing, which is what we are practicing for the most part over here. Okay, the next one. The next one is it's item 5, which is called Pratyahara, the withdrawal of awareness from the external objects. So if you've ever done a yoga class, usually at the end of your yoga class, your teacher will make you lie down, and it's called the corpse pose, where they will walk you through a series of visualizations, and they will basically help you to withdraw from the external world, and then they'll push you back into the external world, right? So you may be wondering, like, what does that achieve? Well, basically, it's like practicing, so when you go play tennis or you go play any kind of game, what are you doing? You're practicing, right? So it just, you hit that ball. So suppose you're learning how to play cricket, you're hitting that ball so many times that it becomes part of your body. It becomes part of your body's consciousness, so that when you're playing a match one day and, you have this well-practiced, whatever you call it, the hitting the ball business, then your body knows what to do. So Pratyahara is a way of withdrawal of awareness from the senses and then putting it back. Now, the starter meditations that we have, for example, Twin Hearts meditation, also helps us to withdraw. How does it help us to withdraw? It helps us to withdraw, and then it also helps us to spread out. So let me just, just stay with me for a minute while I explain this. So first, Master talks about, the prayer, of course, and then we bless the earth. Before we bless the earth, we connect our tongue to the palate. So that's an inside movement. We become aware of the energy. We become aware of our aura. We become aware of the fact that we are going to bless the earth, right? And then look at the beauty of the technique. We withdraw out and we visualize the earth like a little ball in front of us. And what do? We bless the earth, right? So if the earth is here, let's say, and you're blessing the earth from outside, what does that mean? Does that mean you're out of your consciousness? Because the earth is here. You're physically on the earth. But where has your consciousness moved to? Is it outside the earth? Because you're blessing the earth, remember. So in 1 second, Master has taken us from inside the earth, one little speck on earth, to outside the earth. And we are blessing the earth. That is movement of the consciousness. The consciousness can move very fast if you know how to do it. So as early as basic pranic healing, as early as, meditation of Twin Hearts, which is open to all, Master is already taking us through the process of withdrawal from our senses. I want to talk about this a little bit more in the sense that when you read God Talks with Arjuna with Paramhans Yoganandaji, he calls these the 5 telephones of the senses. So what he says is that all the 5 senses of our body are like telephones. They're constantly, they're already constantly feeding us information. Now, if we don't want this information, we have to kind of cut it off. How do we cut it off? Through exercise, through meditation. So we'll be doing meditation. And like I said, these are the starter meditations. Now, once we've covered the starter meditations, there's another step. And that step is called dharana and dhyana. So dharana is concentration, and dhyana is, in some of the books it's called meditation, but Master Choa actually calls it prolonged awareness. So dharana is concentration. Now you may have noticed that if you're doing a meditation and you have been asked to concentrate on an object, I don't know, I'm just taking a pen for example. You just have to concentrate on this for 5 minutes. After 3 minutes, you're thinking of all kinds of things, right? Oh, it's golden in color. Oh, I used to use this in school. Oh my God, I remember that day when the ink was all over my hand and my uniform got dirty. It's like the mind has already gone into so many directions by just looking at this one object. So suppose you're concentrating on a flame, same thing. Nothing wrong with concentrating on a flame. There is a purpose to concentrating on the flame, and that flame is actually inside your head. So, or at the top of your crown. So if you remember when we do the Twin Hearts meditation, Master talks about it. So what I'm trying to do is just basically pull together, a lot of things that we've heard and just try and make sense of it for all of us. The next one, which is the 7th step of Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, is dhyana. Now, dhyan is something which is like prolonged awareness. So it's like, how long can you just be aware? How long can you just sit there and just look at a tree maybe and just be aware of the tree, and that's it, and not think anything? For me, not very long yet. I'm still working on it. But we have a practice called Arhatik Dhyan, which again is taught in, Arhatik Prep, which some of us may have done. So, so the beauty I find of, the Pranic Healing School is that it actually just helps us to grow slowly. The first thing was do and don't do. The second thing was, small, short exercises. So we do the Pavan Muktasana series 1 in the asanas. Then we have the breathing exercises. Then we have, short starter meditation, which is the Twin Hearts meditation. Then we have dharana, we have dhyana, which is more intense. It's like in dhyan, you're kind of, being aware of your body, you're expanding your body more and more. Okay. Okay. Moving on to the last anga of Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, which is called samadhi. Okay. So samadhi is what? So some people say, when someone passes away, they say, unhone samadhi le li, they took samadhi. Now, samadhi is actually a technical term. Everyone who passes does not take samadhi. Samadhi is the process of actually moving out of your physical body with full awareness into the higher levels of consciousness. Samadhi also involves first being aware of ourselves as a soul, being aware that we have a higher soul. And then when that higher soul becomes one with the aspect of God, that is another level of samadhi. Okay. So there are many, many levels of samadhi. We're not going to talk about that right now because that topic is pretty intense. And I don't think we have the time for it, but yeah. And I haven't gotten there yet. So, okay, just to clarify, I'm still working on getting samadhi. So again, but one thing that I would like to add here is the Twin Hearts meditation. Again, when we have the few minutes of silence, in the Twin Hearts meditation, we have these 2-3 minutes of silence after the Om chanting is over, when everybody starts to wonder what is happening now. That is the point of samadhi. Okay, so if in that time you can concentrate on the light on top of your crown, you can just be aware of what is happening. You can just be aware of the light, just be aware of the light. That's the time when your intuitive power is being built. That is when, the light is coming down and is really strengthening your intuition. So for us at this point, samadhi is just, if we can just barely even just move out of our body and just barely move into the crown chakra, that's pretty good for now. If you are able to move beyond and you are one with your higher soul, well, thank you so much, but then you need to give me some advice. And if you're one with God, then you wouldn't be here. So, okay. So that said, so what is it? Basically, we have the 8 limbs of yoga, which are called the Yoganga of Patanjali. There are many books on this topic. So again, the objective was to put it into one little thing and also tie it into pranic healing, because that's what the project that I'm working on. I'm also tying it in with the Bhagavad Gita. So anyway, so there's yama, which is do, the niyama, which is don't do. So those are the 5 virtues that we talked about. The asana and the pranayam are exercises. 5 and 6 and 7 actually are various levels of meditation. And 8, of course, is, the experience of super consciousness. So, if you're wondering, have I experienced super consciousness? You probably haven't. Because there's this one very, very brief second where I think I experienced super consciousness. And I can tell you, the feeling is beyond anything else on the planet. So if you ever happen to get there, you will know without doubt that you are there. Okay. And I'm talking about, the very lower levels of consciousness. I'm not talking about soul realization and God realization. I'm just talking about just being able to just step out of my body and just be aware of, I don't know how to describe it. Okay. Anyway, so if you're in doubt, you probably haven't reached samadhi yet. And the last thing I want to talk about today, before we move on to the meditation, is the difference between a Swami and a yogi. So this is a topic that comes up very often, and I thought it was interesting to know. So in his book, Autobiography of a Yogi, Paramhans Yoganandaji talks about this. It's the difference between a yogi and a Swami. A yogi is someone who practices a certain technique To do what? To do all these things, you know, to reach samadhi, basically. So what is it for? It's a scientific technique for divine realization. Now, this is a technique that can be practiced by anybody, whether you're married, not married, householder, renunciate, businessman, you can be a yogi. So that's why we have the term karma yogi. You know, people who are really good at their business, really run their businesses properly, those are karma yogis. A swami is an ordained monk who may or may not be a yogi. So a swami is someone who may or may not be practicing a technique, but a yogi is definitely someone who's practicing a technique. So all of us here who are practicing the twin hearts meditation or doing pranic healing, we come under the category of yogi. That's why we have the techniques of what we call Arhatic yoga. Okay, so the purpose of a lot of the schools is to help us achieve samadhi. And in our school, of course, there's Arhatic yoga. There are many schools, and all the schools are trying to lead us all to the same path. So it's not that one school is better than the other. It's just that everybody has a different technique, and you're more than welcome to practice any technique that you like. Okay, so with that, that brings me to the end of the talk portion of this, and now we will. So visualize the person who you want to forgive. Let us say, first smile at that person. Don't forget to smile. Make sure you're actually smiling. Okay. Let us say, I, the soul, salute the divinity within you. I, the soul, love and respect you. If you don't love that person, that's okay. You can just say, I, the soul, respect you. I, the soul, forgive you for whatever you did to me. I, the soul, forgive you for what you did to me. The hurt, the pain, I forgive you. Once again, the reason why we are forgiving is because the law of forgiveness supersedes the law of karma. The pain that they have given us, if we don't give it back to them, then it stops here and the karma ends. It's like when you're playing a tennis match and you don't throw the ball back, the game ends. So once again, be aware of your crown, your heart, and your hands. Project some beautiful pink energy to this person from your heart, some golden energy from your crown. And let us say, I, the soul, salute the divinity within you. I, the soul, acknowledge the God with a small g in you. I, the soul, respect you. I, the soul, forgive you for the hurt, the pain, the separation, the disenchantment that you have caused. So last week we were working on the father aspect. Those of you who missed that, you can watch the YouTube videos. This week we're going to be talking about our soul. So it's International Yoga Week. We're going to be talking about the soul. So, sometimes we're angry with God. And we're like, how could you put me in this situation? Why aren't you doing anything? We're talking to God. So we need to be aware that we ourselves are God. And if you need to do forgiveness with God, that's also okay. So this week we're going to focus on forgiving ourselves, forgiving the God within us also. Okay. So let's think of our relationship target. If it's your relationship with yourself, all the better. Let's be aware of the crown, the hands, and the heart. Visualize the person or yourself in front of you and say, I, the soul, salute the divinity within you. I, the soul, respect you, because I hope you respect yourself. I, the soul, forgive you for all the trouble that you have put me through. And you can say it in whatever words and whatever tone you want, but it's okay, just get it out. I, the soul, forgive you. Now we just need to be aware that if someone has done something to us, probably we have also done something to them. So let's just quickly ask for forgiveness also while we're on the job. Okay, so let us say, I, the soul, salute the divinity within you. I, the soul, respect you. Please forgive me for whatever I may have done. Please forgive me for not being perfect. Please forgive me for not being exactly the way you want me to be. Please forgive me. I, the soul, salute the divinity within you. I, the soul, respect you. I, the soul, request forgiveness for not being perfect, not being the way you want me to be. One last time. I, the soul, feel yourself as the soul, salute the divinity within you. I, the soul, respect you. I, the soul, seek forgiveness for whatever I may have done to hurt you, for not being perfect, and for not doing exactly what you asked me to do. I forgive you, and please forgive me. Okay, moving on to our spiritual target. Let's bless our spiritual target if we have one. If you don't, you can think of one. Make sure you write down these 4 targets, the health target, the financial target, the relationship target, and the spiritual target. Put a date on it. And you may find that after some period of time, you may find that it has materialized. And sometimes it just materializes so smoothly that we don't even realize that we had wished for it. So with me, I just keep finding all these scraps of paper all over the place every time I open an old diary or something of wishes that I had written like 10 years ago. And I'm like, wow, that came soon. That came true pretty soon. I didn't even realize. Okay. So make sure you write down your wishes. It's really important. Okay. 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 So that was energizing our wishes. And what else do we need to do? Kunal, if you like, you can unmute everybody. So how do you feel? All good? So anyone had like a major like releasing during the healing? Because I was doing healing for everyone during the meditation.
I'm feeling very light and nice.
Okay, great. So be aware again, today is also the new moon. It's also the solstice has just gotten over. So there's a lot happening.
Feeling very good.
Cosmically
And I'm
speaking,
feeling
there
very
is a
light.
lot that is happening today. So yeah. And so also what we'll be doing is that for those of us who do the mass healing with us Monday to Saturday, we will be decreeing the good karma that we generate from the mass healings. We'll be decreeing it on Saturdays.
No voice is coming.
Sorry. Okay, so those of you who felt a sensation in your spine, it could be possibly that the Kundalini is awakening because the Twin Hearts meditation is really powerful. And like I said, today is a cosmically very powerful day. So if you're feeling something at the base of your spine, that's great. It means your Kundalini is awakening. So just be aware that the Kundalini is awakened in all of us. It's just that which layer of Kundalini is awakening. So according to Master Choa's books, there are 7 layers of the Kundalini and they have 7 sub layers each. So that's 49 layers to go. So we have a long way to go, guys. But anyway, if it's awakening more, power to you. Okay. So with that, I think we'll move on. You can make your own prayer of forgiveness. The important thing is the intent. Obviously, there are some techniques that we teach in Achieving Oneness with the Higher Soul workshop, but just be aware that, if you're just going to do the prayer mechanically, that's not going to help as much as, the feeling. So the important thing, of course, is to be aware of yourself, to be aware of the other person, to be aware of, like I said, the law of karma, that the law of karma supersedes, the law of forgiveness supersedes the law of karma. That is more important. In my opinion. But there are many, many versions of the prayers available. Many centers have them. You can use any of them, I suppose. You can make your own. So, yeah. So one person has a question that they got a lot of itching over their body. So if you had a lot of itching, then I would just like you to remember that you need to take a lot of salt bath. And also when you do the meditation on Twin Hearts, it would be a good idea if you dip your feet in salt water and you do it. So it could just be contamination. And also just make sure you're not using any mudras. So a lot of times I see people using what's called the chin mudra in doing any meditation. So the chin mudra is a very powerful mudra. It is taught in the yoga sciences. It has a certain application to it. It is not to be used all the time. So if you've been taught by a teacher, then you need to ask your teacher, what are the circumstances under which you're supposed to use the chin mudra? And definitely along with the Twin Hearts meditation, don't use the chin mudra. So that's just something I want to share. Yeah, so you can do healing for somebody who's not well. That is always possible. You can do distant pranic healing. Distant pranic healing is something you can do across the 7 seas. You can take care of any kind of skin problem, mental problems. In pranic healing, we can heal anything starting from a fever or a cold, going all the way up to schizophrenia, autism, depression, anxiety, So yeah, skin problems also can be taken care of with pranic healing sessions. So if you're a healer, you can do it yourself. Otherwise, you can approach us on the numbers provided on the screen, and we'll try to find a healer that fits your budget. Okay, what else? Okay. On Sundays, we have a particular topic. And then through the week, Monday to Saturday, we review portions of what we covered on Sunday, along with the Twin Hearts meditation. Then we follow it up with a mass healing. And in the mass healing, you can heal an entire group, or you can heal your family. And then on Saturdays, we will decree the good karma that we've generated from doing all the healing to getting back whatever is it that you want in the form of health, finances, relationships, spirituality, whatever is it that you want. So again, write your wishes so that you know what you wish for. Otherwise, you'll get it and you won't know.